Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief, and joining me today is Jalen. How we doing today, Jalen?
Hey, I'm doing well, Chief. Doing well. As I always say, it's another great day to be a Ragin Cajun, and I have to represent with my old Louisiana homecoming shirt back on the bricks.
Nice. So, I'm not really representing the Cajun except for the hat, but I mean, this is about as Cajun Buckies as you can get, I think. On the back of the shirt says, "Do you even boil, bro?" So, I mean, look, you got the crawfish here, which probably should be our mascot, honestly. I think everybody could vibe with a crawfish being the Cajun mascot, but we could do an episode like that in the summer. Don't come for my head saying that the bulldog or the white alligator or whatever else they all spawn in their brains or whatever ideas they got going on. But yeah, I think this is a good. I like this shirt. Very comfortable shirt here. If anybody wants to know, I got this shirt from the Buckies in Alabama. Believe it or not.
Oh,
We were going out toward Florida a couple of years ago. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. I stopped by. I usually go get a shirt whenever I go to Bucky's because I like Bucky shirts. Jalen can attest to that. He sees me wear them at work a couple of times.
oh, definitely seen you around a couple times. Hey, there's nothing wrong with it though. Who doesn't
Yeah,
love Bucky's?
yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, let's talk about Cajun's got a game going on against Louisiana Tech right now. Tech was leading 4-2 in the game. But we're going to talk about the series coming ahead for the Cajuns because I think that's a little bit more pressing in the matter is the Cajuns need to win. Baseball needs to start winning games along with softball too because we're getting into that part of the year. This is put up or shut up time because you have to win games and you've got to be in position, especially when we get close to May. The selection month. So with that being said, we have a very real possibility right now, as I am talking, that both Cajun teams miss the NCAA tournament, which is something that does not normally happen. When I say both of them, like baseball might miss it, but softball doesn't normally miss it. That's been the case since about 2000. I think the last time they missed it was 1999, just for sake of reference. Um, that was 26 years ago. Jalen, do you think both teams miss it this year as we're
Oh,
talking right
that's
now?
man. It's since 1990. That's crazy to think about 26 years. But I, in my honest opinion, as the way both teams are playing right now, I think the women's team saw the softball team will get in. Um, the way that the Louisiana baseball team is playing right now is just so up and down, and they're just right there in the middle in the Sun Belt. If I had to say today, I think the women's team will get in, but the men, I just don't see it this year. And I know,
And
Chief, you've been saying it for a while, but yeah, I'm agreeing with you right now. It's just not looking great.
so just for point of reference, I'm gonna bring this up here real quick here. Let's see. I'm gonna push this up on the screen here so people can see what I am going to talk about here. Let's break this down here. I'm gonna bring this up from D1 Baseball because D1 Baseball is a good source. That's the official source for all your. Okay, so Jalen, you see my screen right now. So just for everybody knows that we're talking about here. This is team
Hmm.
stats. This is I don't like the way they have it outlaid. I like Warren Nolan's side a little bit better because it's a little bit more prettier. But their information, they always do their RPI is always live or whatever when they're playing right now. But look, so you see on the right side of the screen, you'll see the schedule when they play Texas State, to drop the series. UT Rio Grande Valley, lost 9-7. That score is not 2-2, it's 2-4. It's probably ain't updated yet, but so this is what I'm looking at. This is going to be a very important decision factor for the committee. Now, look, Cajuns have a good thing here. They do have a winning record in the 51 through 100 category, but this is where they got to start winning more. That 26 to 50 range right here is what I'm looking at. 4-8, not a good sign. It's okay if you drop the 1 to 25 because in terms of getting the tournament, you're not if you're just trying to get in the tournament, those will help you out here. So they've played a tough schedule. You could look at the strength of schedule right here, and you see they're 30. Non-conference 10. They've played a tough schedule, the Raging Cajun baseball team. Like if they had an easier schedule and they had a lot of wins, hey, they would be taking care of business right now. But it's not looking good here. Cajuns have struggled with pitching all year long. Now, if you look at yesterday's game, I will bring this up to y'all because this is something that we need to talk about here. The Cajun pitching yesterday against a very good, excuse me, against a very good UT Rio Grande Valley team, which they're really high up there in the RPI themselves here, if you look at it that way. They gave up 3 solo shots. Didn't have anybody on base at that point because you and like the first batter coming up, just knocking solo shots over the fence here. If they had people on base, like 1, maybe 2 runners on base, they would have been out the game by the time the 4th inning would have went around. And they still scored 9 runs against the Cajuns and gave 11 hits. Cajuns had 3 errors, which doesn't help you too much either, but that's been a part of an issue there too. They jumped on the Cajuns early, 3-0, and then the Cajuns came back a little bit. It was 4-1 when we got to the top of the third. Cajuns had a big third inning with 5 runs, but other than that, they didn't produce for the rest of the game, which they got up to 7 runs. I mean, they got that lone run to 6 to kind of break everything up, but, toward the end, they dropped three runs in 7, 8, 9. But pitching has been the weak point here, and you can't do you ain't going to do well in the postseason pitching. Now, they have to figure out how to win these games here because Louisiana Tech's at 120. You're a little bit higher than them, but you need to try to win this game here just to help your RPI a little bit here. ULM, they need to sweep ULM. Because they're right now I'm looking at Warren Nolan, live RPI update from warrennolan.com, and that's not going to help you here. If you drop those 3 games, you can kiss it goodbye. But I mean, like if you look at you got a 7-3 record against 101 to 200 right there. I think that's something that you have to look at here and just be like, look, we have to start winning games. This is the time here. Like if you want to get on a hot streak and a run, baseball's a good sport that does that happen. That does happen with it. And I've seen teams go on 25-game winning streaks and carry that all the way into the conference tournament in Omaha. Now, the good thing for the Cajuns is they're only 1 game back. The Sun Belt, it's anybody's conference this year because the records are so close and twined here. Jalen, how do you see the Cajuns are baseball that they could potentially win the conference? They would win the regular season title. Do you think that would be enough to get them in the committee's eyes?
I think the way the Sun Belt has been playing baseball as a whole, I think whoever wins the regular season title is automatically gonna get in, whether they win the Sun Belt tournament. I think it's just the way the games have been played, how close it's been in the conference all year. And yes, to answer your question, the Cajuns did win the regular season. I think that'll be enough to get them in. Now I know what I said at the beginning that they wouldn't get to the tournament. But I said that because of the way they're playing right now. As you said, they can get hot by the end of this year. They can go and go and sweep ULM, beat LA Tech that's going on right now, sweep I mean, I'm not saying all that's going to happen for sure, but as we talk about all the time, momentum is a thing. And if they win these necessary games and they ended up winning the regular season title, I think that's enough for them to get in the big dance. I think it is.
Yeah, I think. Let me go pull it up here real quick so y'all can see how much of a mess this is to decipher. Like, just for the sake of all the teams that have a shot at it, this is about as crazy of a month of baseball you're going to have right here. Look at that mess. So you have App State, Georgia State, Southern Miss, Troy, and Coastal Carolina, Louisiana. And then after that, that's literally for that number 1 spot there. Coastal's the highest, the one with RPI. Their RPI is 11 right now, believe it or not. And Cajuns played Troy. The Cajuns still got to play Southern Miss, so there is an opportunity to jump them. But you're going to need a little bit of help. You need Troy to lose some games here to help yourself out there. So Cajuns got after ULM, Grambling, and they got Nichols midweek. 5, so they can potentially jump them as well. So you have two teams right here that you could beat up. If you win their series against them, you have a good chance of having a tiebreaker. You lost a series to Troy. Then you got App State in there as well, which is another one that the Cajuns haven't played this year. So, I mean, you look at I'm trying to see where the Troy series was at. I'm trying to remember what week. Yeah, that was the March 14th one. So that was their first opener. So that was their Sunbelt Conference series. So if you pull, I'm going to put a play to kind of close out their year here. Madison, ULM, Alabama, Arkansas State, Southern Miss. So it's going to be a pivotal series in this, just based if the Cajuns beat Southern Miss the week before when Troy's playing Arkansas State, and they're going to be on the road, Southern Miss, and they're going to be right there as well. Here, if they drop that series to the Cajuns and they end up beating Troy, Cajuns might end up winning this thing. So, but Troy does have the tiebreaker over Coastal. They got 2 or 3, even though they're kind of slotted that way. They're both 8-4 in conference here, so they got the head-to-head games against Coastal, but Coastal does have the higher RPI. So this is going to get real interesting to see who's actually going to win this thing. So it's a cluster. It's a lot to decipher here. And, crazy thing is, after this weekend, Texas State could be leading the Sun Belt after this weekend if mathematically everything breaks out right.
You gotta love math.
Yeah, Georgia Southern, Texas State could very well be at the top of the conference within 2 weeks. This thing is tight. So the Cajuns could, if they went now, assuming the Cajuns don't get above 500, do they still get in, Jalen?
If they win the regular season title,
Yeah, if they win the regular season title, do they still get in? And they don't win the conference and the tournament, because the tournament conference champion gets an automatic bid. So
it's
we're gonna
gonna
throw
be
it out the window.
yeah, it's definitely gonna be tougher. I do hope they do win the tournament championship because automatically they're in the big dance. But winning the regular season and having an under 500 record and not winning the tournament, it's going to be even tougher. Will it be a close call? Because the first thing the committee is going to say is, oh, they won the regular season close, and whoever won the tournament, they deserve to win it, so they should get the spot. And you look at Louisiana, they're under 500. So I'm just saying the committee would use this stuff against them because the race is so tight in the Sun Belt to where they wouldn't let the Cajuns get in just because they won the regular season title. So the Cajuns for sure need to get above 500 to end the season.
Which, I mean, they're only 3 games away from that, and that could very well be accomplished this weekend if they sweep ULM to be right there at 500 anyway. So this is the part of the year the Cajuns got to start winning series and start really gaining ground in the conference. Well, they've got a winning record in conference, so they need to put together a sweep. That way they could be 10-5 whenever it's all said and done there, and they can position themselves here. We could talk about the pitching and who we think should be in the lineups and stuff. I know Deggs likes doing his little mix match lineups and stuff. I don't mind that too much because if a bat's hot, it doesn't matter where they're batting at. They'll get the hits or whatever. It don't matter if they're slotted 1, 2, or 3. If you're slotted in a spot here and they move you up in a spot or they move you down, just depending on who you're talking about. If they're hot, then they're just hot. I mean, it doesn't matter where they're gonna hit at. If they're running a hot streak, and depending on where you feel like you're deficient in your lineup at, you should put them in that spot. I mean, you want to have a threat every single time in every inning to make sure that you're having there. So I'm okay with Deggs swapping in and out here. It don't matter if they're coming up 4th, 5th, or 6th. I think if a guy is just getting in the realm here, it shouldn't really affect anything, in my opinion. I think they're just ready to rock and roll, I think. So I know he does that lineup swap. You like the lineup swap, Jalen, or you think that's a little too much? If you like a guy hitting number 2 on the year, and if he's like hot, will you change him up in a different area, like maybe move him down to 4, maybe lead him off? What you think?
Yeah, I think swapping it up is a terrific coaching move, honestly. Because I mean, if you even if the guy is having a great hitting season or last couple of games, why wouldn't you put him down lower, like you said, 4 or 5, and next thing you know, you get some of your hitters at the top that's not hitting the best when it comes to percentage, and then you get the 4 or 5 guys who next you know could pop home runs in. I mean, I think it's a great coaching adjustment, especially for the team this year. So I like it.
Yeah, we'll have to see all that breaks down though. Predictions for this weekend? How you feeling with the Cajun with ULM?
So as we were talking about swapping batting order matters, I think the hitters are going to come and hit. I think pitching is going to be a lot better against ULM because the Cajuns need to get more wins on the road. I think they're. I'm not going to say the sweep against ULM, but I think the Cajuns take 2 or 3 in Monroe.
You're going with 2 and 3. I think I'm probably gonna match you there. It just depends on it because I think the biggest Achilles heel of this Raging Cajun baseball team is the pitching. I don't think it's the infield defense because if the hitter's getting all over, hit all the field, there's only so much defense can do. You can shift guys, but if they got your pitcher nailed, then there's not much you can do. You can shift left, shift right, depending on if they got a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter. It don't matter if the shift is, in that spot where they usually hit it, like a left-handed hitter that usually hits the ball early is going to go toward right field if they're that way. So if they got a tendency to hit toward right field, you'll shift toward the right and make sure they don't get the base hit. But um, like I said, Achilles heel pitching. But they are very successful. This team is very successful against them teams that are in that RPI range of 101 through 200. And that's where ULM's at. They haven't played anyone over above 201. So it's
Hmm.
uh it's very easy to like, yeah, Caden should win this. Very simple. It shouldn't even be a difference here. ULM's at that like above that 200. So this will be their first series here that they're going to be playing someone over above 201 in RPI. So I give me 2 or 3. I think they're going to find a way to drop one, and that's going to be very sad to say. And I'm going to hate that for sure.
I
I'm
know.
not looking. They really need to sweep this team, but
Yeah,
I
they
just
need it. They
don't.
need to sweep.
They really do need it. So let's talk about Raging Caden softball versus Troy series here coming up for Raging Cajun softball here. So you said this is a team that's going to make a regional. About this team that makes a regional, Jalen?
So I feel like I'm one of those people that are living in the past to where you see these great Raging Cajun softball teams. They make it to the big dance every year. They make it as far, make it to the like. I think I'm just kind of living in the past because honestly the way this team is playing this year too, they're they're still trying to come together. Allison Habits is doing a great job. It's her first year with the program as far as being the head coach. She's trying. I mean, she lost a lot of transfers, brought players in. Everybody's trying to gel. But as you look right now, I mean, the way they're playing right now, the only way they'll get into the big dance is if they win the Sun Belt tournament because they're right there at the bottom of the pack for sure in the Sun Belt. But I still have faith in this team. I really do. I have faith in both programs. But the softball program is just known to make NCAA tournament appearances, host them. So I'm not trying to live in the past, but I still have faith in the softball program.
I also apologize to everybody. Joy was last week. I got dad brain. JMU is next on the docket. You know what? I had put that in like the preview title and everything, guys. I'm all over the place these days. So what, like they've had injuries, and I want to give
Hmm.
someone the benefit of a doubt. Like okay, we had earlier in the year we had pitching injuries, but whenever you lose your two starting pitchers to transfer portal, that does hurt, regardless, no matter who you are, and along with 7 other starters, just in general. So this is like a rebuild. This is basically a rebuild year. But I said at the beginning of the year, and I still feel this way, that there's enough talent on this to get a regional run. I don't think they'll make a super regional run. And this is just me being honest with everybody. but I just think that there's not enough pitching for them to get to the supers. I think there's enough there to get to the regionals. Now the one thing that this team needs to figure out, and it's very simple, is closing out games. There's so many times I've watched this team get themselves in a position to win and then they break at the end. I mean, it's happened. It's okay to happen once or twice, but just a trend that I've seen with this team this year is they just don't finish games that well. You could blame it on the pitching or whatever, but if it's a pitching problem, the good thing about softball is you can take a pitcher out and then put him back in if you feel like that's the matchup you want here. So that is a good thing. I don't think they should give the like. I think they should let their pitchers ride 2 or 3 innings this year. I would not trust any of the arms that we have in our bullpen currently right now. There's a chance for development with some of the young ones in there. Like if you're a freshman or sophomore, there's time for development, but it's just that like I think Mallory Wheeler is going to be a really good pitcher for the Cajuns in the coming years. I don't think she's quite there yet, but I feel like she's going to do very well in the next coming years. I think that's a very good signing for the Cajuns. So James Madison, South Alabama, looking at the numbers, their RPI is 53. Non-conference is a 45. Strength of schedule is 24. Non-conference is 23. They're 1-2 against RPI teams in 26 to 50. So let me put this back on the screen here so we can look at this here. This is just some stuff that we're seeing here, and they have a shorter leash than the men do because their postseason starts. They started a week earlier than the men did. So
Hmm.
on the baseball side of things here, but Jalen, with this resume, do you think they'll make it in?
I don't think they'll make it in with this resume. Like I said, when you asked me the question at the beginning of the show, I'm kind of living in the past, but looking at the numbers, we're talking about the team, we're seeing how they're playing. I don't think the team is going to make the tournament. But the only way I see them making it is if they win this Sun Belt tournament, and which is possible. It is possible.
Yeah. So you got James Madison, South Alabama, Texas State. Now the good thing with the Cajuns, they got one big juggernaut left. Texas A&M. A&M's got the number one RPI in all of college softball in the live update with Warren Olin. They're 34-5. If the Cajuns could just if they had a game to steal one, it'd be that. That'd be and I think their series, the Cajuns, to get in. Okay. They've won one game in each of their last 2 series. I felt like they needed to win against Coastal, and I feel like they needed to win against Troy. So I think they'll beat James Madison. They should be Texas State. I don't think they're going to beat Texas State. I think they might take 1 of 3 there. Southern Miss, they might take 1 of 3 against that one too. But if they had to steal one, I want that to be I would want it to be this game right here. I'm pulling it up. You're at Texas A&M. That's the one you want. That's because that's the best you're going to get right there because that's going to boost your RPI up a good chunk there. But these other ones right here, you don't want to lose any games with James Madison or South Alabama. You can probably lose one to Texas State and be okay, or 2. You could probably drop the series and maybe get in there, but you would have to be Southern Miss at that point. But for them to be safe, just win the rest of your series. Just take 2 of 3 if you got to, and just go lean on the other way because you have the numbers. If you look at the numbers here, that would put them in a really good spot. They're 1 through 50 RPI. So with Texas State being at 44, that's going to line them up perfectly in this area right here. That's going to, if you can get a 2 out of 3, you'll be 3-3 in that area right there. If you got a 1 through 25, you got a 1, that's 3-8. Look, they have to win games, and that's just the way it's set up to go. And it's gonna be tough. This is a very weird year just for the diamond and softball sports. The ball and stick sports are not doing so hot this year. So this is the reality that we're in, and you're gonna have to figure out what's the next best course of action you can get here. And both teams have struggled with the pitching situation here. That's why I don't trust the pitchers right now to ride 7 innings. I think you gotta pitch by committee. Basically, like just do it like running backs. Whoever's fresh, just go out there and do what you gotta do. Because the good thing about softball mechanics is you can just bring them in out there the next day. Swap them up if you got to. Maybe whoever you put in there second, make them go first the next day. That's what I'm thinking. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, you just have to. The bottom line is you have to figure out ways to win, and you get to crunch time at the end of the season. You have to get W's from the board because you keep losing these games and go on losing streaks. You're not gonna make it. Your goal is to get to the big dance. That's the goal for any team in any sport in college, I should say. But the way you losing games. Then the Cajuns softball team are losing close games at that, like we've been reiterating since we've been talking about the softball team, even to begin the season to now. They just need to find ways to win, and it starts now. JMU and South Al are at the bottom under the Cajuns when it comes to the softball standings. You have to sweep both of these teams. You can't sit up there and not let them win one or even let them win 2 or 3 games. You got to sweep both these teams so they know that not only do they know you mean business, but you can prove to yourself as a softball team, hey, we just did that. We're on the momentum. We got a hot streak going. Let's keep it going and let's see how far we can get. And then you never know what's going to happen. I know they're like 4 or 5 games behind. What is the Coastal? Not Coastal. I'm sorry, that's the men we're talking about. When it comes to
Georgia
Georgia
Southern.
Southern, Georgia Southern.
They're currently 4 games back.
So that's a lot of games. But when you think about it in the scheme of things, I mean Georgia Southern could sit up there and lose the next 4, and the Cajuns win the next 4, and they right up there in the top 3. So it's different when it comes to softball and baseball. I can see if this was
You got
basketball.
you got 6. So they got their schedule shapes up to be like I look at that Coastal Series hindsight here because they had them beat. They gave up 4 runs on that Friday game in the last bottom half of the inning to lose that series, basically. Because Saturday they lost 8-10, which Cajuns, I mean, they made a heck of a comeback into that one. I mean, they jumped on 3-1 and just couldn't sustain it. Sunday they won 9-5. Like Troy lost in 8 innings, 4-5.
Close games.
Saturday 5-6. Once again, they had a 5-2 lead entering the top of 6, but they couldn't hold on to it. This is what I mean by like closing out games. That's recent examples, but like you can go further back. Like look at the mag. It was 4-5. It was a 4 to they were losing 4-5, and they couldn't score anything else in the 6th and the 7th inning. Well, that's a 1-run loss. I want to get a list of all the run loss games that they've had this year, and it's gonna be. And I would only use from like the 5th inning onward just to see how it all stacks up. How well they have a lead, how well they hold the lead, like 6-5 against Marshall, March 14th. They've been able to win some close ones, like Alabama 4-3. They were able to hold on to that one, but that one made me nervous too because Alabama scored in the 7th inning, and they beat teams like Iowa. And I mean, Alabama's a ranked team, so they've beaten ranked opponents. They can do it. And
Yeah,
I mean, 9 inning win
absolutely.
against Ole Miss earlier this year. I mean, that's part of it. And that, I mean, closing games out has been an issue for this team this year. I think the talent's there. I think there's something that goes on toward the end of these games. They might press a little too much. I think you just need to stick with the fundamentals. I think that's what it is. I think
Hmm.
it's a mental game as much as a physical game it is, okay? Because especially when you're playing in front of people, you tighten up, you might but by this point of the season, you got to do what you got to do here because a lot of these people that are playing right now haven't had like full-time starter experience until prior to this year. So with James Madison coming up, they could sweep this team. I feel like they could. I feel better if they Next week, I would feel better with South Alabama. I think they'll sweep South Alabama. I think they'll take 2 or 3 games. James Madison. I can't say a sweep coming, but that's 6 games. If they would pull off 2 straight weeks with sweeps and go into that Texas A&M game where you're fighting for that number 1 RPI, you probably will lose that. They're probably going to lose that Texas A&M game, but you gain 6 wins in the softball standings, which would be huge because you would be 11-7. And that's a 2-game difference with Georgia Southern because Georgia Southern could drop a series somewhere in between those two. So if they sweep both South Alabama, if they sweep James Madison and South Alabama, they'll be in really good shape because Georgia Southern, looking at the end of their schedule, they got at Troy and then they got ULM the next 2 weeks. Looking at it there, ULM's right up there in third. Troy's right there at 5-7. Troy would be doing the Cajuns a huge solid if they won that one. ULM, they're playing very good in softball this year, so which is not normally the case too much here. And the Cajuns won that series against ULM, so I mean they have the potential to do it. So I think they're going to take 5 or 6, I think, if that's my honest prediction. I think I'm going to go with 5. I think they'll sweep South Al. I just don't know about a sweep against James Madison. That'd be the perfect way to end the season right there, being 6 games, and you head into them final 2, and then you can maybe figure out if you can take a series against Texas State or Southern Miss, but you got to put yourself in position, and that would definitely put them in position to potentially take a Sun Belt regular season championship. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, the path is there. Uh, they just have to take it, win games, even if that means they have to win by 1 run. Shoot, a win is a win. Take the games, win the ones you're supposed to win, even the ones that they think you're supposed to lose, win those too. It's about that time. It's almost tournament time, and if you want to make it to the big dance, you have to win. You have to win now.
Yep. That's the name of the game there. So thank y'all for tuning into this episode here of the Fishbowl Sports Radio. We're going to see y'all here next time here on the Fishbowl Radio. Anything you want to say, Jalen, before we get off
I
here?
just want to say, everybody, still keep tuning in. I know that both seasons of baseball, softball about to be over soon, but there's still some home games left. You need to check out, and hey, keep being faithful and loyal Ragin Cajun fans.
All right. We're going to see y'all here. I'm going to get back on here later on tonight with my good buddy, Juicy. In about 30 minutes here. He said 8:30, but Juicy, he's kind of lazy at times. But we'll kind of just mess around with that here real quick. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a great, wonderful time here. We'll see you here next time on the Fishbowl Radio. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.